Hello class. Today we're going to be looking at an evaluation tool that will help us identify a set of criteria to use when we're evaluating information sources. It's called the CRAAP test, and CRAAP stands for Currency, Relevance, Authority, Accuracy, and Purpose. Let's begin by starting with the first criterion, currency. When discussing currency, we want to look at the timeliness of the source we're considering. Information can become obsolete quickly, and using an outdated source to support an argument only serves to weaken it. Of course, just because a source isn't current doesn't mean it won't serve your purpose. Some older resources work great, for example, for providing a historical overview of a topic. So, when it comes to currency, some questions you'll want to consider are: when was the information published or posted? Has it been revised or updated? Is it current or out of date for your topic? Are the links functional? If not, it's likely the site hasn't been updated recently. To examine a source's relevance is to determine whether the information you found will meet your needs. While researching, you may find a brilliantly written document that details actress America Ferrera's work as a political activist, but it may not be relevant to a film analysis of her work in Ugly Betty. So some questions to consider for relevance are: 1. Does the information answer your research question and/or meet the requirements of the assignment? 2. Who is the targeted or intended audience? And is the information presented at an appropriate level? For example, you want to consider whether it's too technical or oversimplified. 3. Have you looked at other sources before choosing this one? If the arguments or claims presented in the source you find are not reflected elsewhere, you may be looking at an unsubstantiated or unsupported outlier. And finally, does the source add something new to your knowledge or understanding of the topic while building on the work of other substantiated research? Determining the source of the information is another essential element used to determine its credibility. There's a reason why Michael Jordan was hired by Nike to sell their shoes, and I, who only watch basketball from the comfort of my couch, was not. As consumers, we give much more credibility to what a professional in a particular field has to say than someone with no credentials whatsoever. Questions to consider when examining authority or the source of the information are: 1. Who is the author, publisher, source, or sponsor? If you read an article in the newspaper about the added benefits of medication X to cure all that ails you, and then you see, in very small print, that this particular research was sponsored by a corporation heavily invested in the development of medication X, then you might question the validity of those results. Something else to consider is: can you identify the author's credentials? Run a Google search on their name. Are they who they claim to be, and are they qualified to write on the topic? Or what about an organizational affiliation? Is the institution providing the information unbiased? Or are they receiving funding from a group that will benefit from favorable representation? If you have any questions or concern about the resource, is there a way to contact the source and receive clarification and/or argue against a claim? And then it's also important to take a look at the URL. Does it reveal anything about the author or source? .edu sources are affiliated with educational institutions, but all of us also have a .edu extension in our email address. So consider whether or not you're encountering a resource that was generated by a student or by a professional in the field when you find a document with a .edu extension. And for a quick overview of how the various extensions translate, .coms are associated with companies, .govs are governmental entities, .orgs are affiliated with organizations, and .nets are designed for network infrastructure use. When evaluating for accuracy, you want to consider the reliability, truthfulness, and correctness of the content presented. Anyone presenting inaccurate information undermines their credibility. So questions to consider when determining accuracy are: 1. Where does the information come from? And is that information supported by evidence that can be verified? 2. Has the information been reviewed or refereed? When you encounter scholarly or peer-reviewed journals, they have all undergone this lengthy process in that the articles that were written by professionals are then submitted for review by other professionals within the field. After the review, the article is returned to the author for revision and then resubmitted for a final review. Once that's complete, then the document is published. So you can imagine, this process may take months or even longer. As it relates to purpose, the final criterion in the CRAAP test, it's important to determine why the information exists. For the most part, all of the resources we find are designed to educate, entertain, or sell a product or point of view. So, the following questions will help determine a source's purpose. First, what is its intended purpose? Was it designed to teach us something, persuade us to purchase, or adopt a certain point of view, etc.? Do the authors make their intentions or purpose clear? If not, you'll want to consider why they're being so evasive or so unclear. In addition, it's important to know if the information is fact, opinion, or propaganda. Is the point of view of the source objective or neutral, and impartial or fair? And finally, are there personal bias in the source that may be political, ideological, cultural, religious, or institutional? Just because an item is shown to be biased does not mean it cannot be used in your academic research. But if you decide to use it, you should let your reader know that you're aware of the biases presented. In this final slide, I've highlighted a sample resource that meets all 5 objectives for a sample topic. And that topic is using fog water as a sustainable water source. Starting with authority, when I click on the link, the hyperlink for William Stringfellow, I'm led to 10 other articles he's written related to the water crisis and sustainable water solutions. I also Googled him and found that he is a geological staff engineer at Berkeley. Looking at the date, you can see that it's a relatively recent document published in 2014, and for my purposes, the data that's presented there is recent enough. Looking at the publication source, Clean Technologies and Environmental Policies, I found that it is an established professional journal. And from the abstracts basically provide a summary of the article, I see that it's addressing a relevant issue, the fact that new water resources are needed, and that the purpose is clearly academic.